Hi everyone, welcome to Value. So today we're going to just talk about Veru and what to expect next, because there's probably not going to be that much kind of like headlines in the time being. But I know you guys are going to probably be a little worried, particularly with a very volatile share price. And that's kind of what you kind of have to get used to, because this is the type of stock that's going to have a lot of volatility. It's going to have a lot of people trading in and out of this stock before they have any more announcements. And that's just going to be the reality of investing in these type of stocks. Like if we go to the 5 days, now you can see it's pretty choppy. Like it goes up quite a bit, it goes down by quite a bit. And if we go to the 1 month, it's a bit quite choppy as well there. So you're probably not expecting a smooth, easy selling ride. If you want those type of stocks, then Veru's definitely not that type of stock where it's going to be, it's not going to stay steady. It's going to go down a lot and it's going to go up a lot. For me, in my view, is if you hold long enough and the good things come along, eventually the stock does pretty well. And that's the whole idea of everything, right? So you can see by these announcements, the last one was about them presenting at Jefferies, and that's basically what these guys will be doing. They will be taking the results and then presenting to more investors, and then also along the way they'll just be compiling those results to kind of get that FDA approval. And that's probably what we're going to expect, like for especially in June's probably going to be one of those probably much more quieter months where they probably can't announce too much, because they are, as they say, in advance purchase agreements kind of discussions, but they probably won't be able to announce those until they get very close to FDA approval, or if not, they might be waiting for approval before they speak about anything else. And that would be probably the smart thing to do, unless they manage to get some contracts overseas. Then they may announce those, or they may talk about their manufacturing. But as they have said, like their manufacturing probably won't be ramping up until much later on, probably in July and August and September. So we probably won't hear too much about the manufacturing side. We might hear about the other businesses, but that's probably not what's driving the stock. It is all, this COVID pill that's driving the stock. So overall, what do we expect? We might hear some possible talks that are going on in terms of advanced purchase agreements, but I don't think any agreement itself will be announced. And in that meantime, we'll probably hear more about these conferences. Unless approval's, much closer than we think it is, and it's possible that comes at the end of next month. But likely case, it sounds like it likely will be in July, but we have no idea how the FDA really decides these things, and how much time they will take in deciding that. So yeah, like that's the thing. It's a risky thing both ways, because while you're waiting, stock could get sold down, or that's the worst part is if the FDA doesn't even approve it, then the stock will probably get hammered. But if it is approved, then the stock flies higher than anything you've ever seen, probably, hopefully. But yeah, like that's the whole risk of being in this type of stock. Whereas that's the whole idea of why blue chips exist, because blue chips offer much more, stability. They don't fluctuate so much. So in this type of market, no stock is really stable in general, because like you've seen the big tech stocks, they've been dropping quite a bit. They've been fluctuating quite a bit. So in general, it's hard to say which stock actually is going to offer you a lot of stability in this kind of market. But for sure, Veru definitely won't offer you like, plain sailing waters. Do expect a lot of volatility. Like the price is $12.83. That's a billion valuation right now. Billion valuation is, it's decent. It's kind of the market going, we're not too sure where to go, because unless the approval comes through, then we know where we need to go. But if approval does not come through, then it's going to be on that other end as well. So I think the market is being very conservative in a sense. They don't want to shoot too much with the share price until approval comes through, but they don't want to miss out over. So anything that's cheap, they're buying it up as well. So that's kind of we're in that middle ground situation where market's kind of feeling a little uncertain, and they're kind of buying it up, selling it down, buying it up, selling it down, and it's basically in the control of the traders and the people shorting the stock. Whereas bulls, they've got some confidence, but I don't imagine they're going to have all the confidence in the world yet. Not until they see more confirmation that approval is pretty much done, and everything else. So yeah, like that's just my view. What's going to happen next month? Next month's just probably not going to be that interesting, though I'd love them to prove me wrong in terms of putting out some interesting information out to the market. So like it's possible that the share price could get sold down. We have seen quite lows before, like back in middle of May, stock was sold down to around $8, and then it managed to shoot up over $14, and then now it's at $12. So it goes all over the place, and that's the type of volatility that you get with these type of stocks. So you just really have to decide what type of risk you can afford to take in this type of stock. But overall, next month's probably going to be a long waiting time for a lot of investors who are probably waiting for quite a bit for this approval, and it does take time. So that's one thing, and the thing is, no one knows how long the FDA really needs to take. Most cases, most people are expecting probably around sometime in July, but again, we don't know, and it's that likely. It seems like they would probably need time to go through these results anyway. So until then, I think that's all I have to really say. Like, if you see the price dropping, that's going to be normal as well, because I think I got a question around that, and there's nothing really much you can really say in this type of situation, particularly because there's just not going to be a lot of information coming out, and that doesn't make people want to buy stocks. Probably if people get bored, they generally sell, or traders sell, or people short the stock, and that's just the reality of the stock market, where there's a lack of information. Things get sold down on small volumes, but when news comes out, that's when it's really strong, and then people buy in, and that's when the stock does its best. In a way, the next thing that is up with crypto in terms of volatility is sometimes biotech stocks, because there's not a lot of like concrete stuff that's going on. It's a lot of like, we don't exactly have the best certainty, because it's like, well, do they get FDA approval or do they not get FDA approval? So it's stuff like that. Like if you're in stock, you just really have to focus on the reasons why you invested, and just focus on those reasons, and that's what kind of just keeps you, in a sense, sane while you watch all this volatility and not get too uncomfortable with it. So it will go to $14, it will come back to $10, it will go to $12, it will come to $11, it will go to $13, and it may even come to $8, and it might shoot up to $15 one day as well. So you just can't predict these things, especially with the share price, and it just depends. Are you one of those type of investors who's in it for short term with that big bet that FDA approval comes along, or are you in it for long term, and you of course especially waiting for the FDA approval as well? I don't think anyone invests in a stock thinks that, hey, we're investing in it knowing that there's no approval. Like, the whole idea of investing in the stock is for that approval, so that's the whole idea. But of course you still have to be realistic and see how, if this approval does not happen, which these are possible chances, then how have you kind of adjusted your portfolio to handle that? And of course, success is one of those things that, hey, like you can plan for success and go, if this happened and this happened, the share price would be this much, I would earn this much. But the best kind of prudent kind of type of planning is what happens if the approval does not happen. How do you protect your downside? And that's probably the more wiser thing to do. Protect your downside, because if you get the upside's great no matter what. But if you don't get the upside and you end up getting the downside, how do you protect yourself against that? And that's kind of the biggest questions around investing that you could probably do no matter what. No matter what investment you're doing, always be able to protect yourself from the downside, because that's just how things work. Like if markets drop, that's the one thing you've got to be able to protect yourself from. If you go like, I'm very have high conviction on a stock, and if the price falls, I have money on the side, and that's how you protect yourself. You've got money on the side to be able to buy more if you need to, or you just have your position in a certain stock is so small that if it was to not do well overall, and it does not affect your portfolio as heavily. But if you go, I'm 100% in one stock and it's only Veru, then that is probably the one time where you don't actually leave yourself much room to in terms of like managing your risk. So like in all investing, particularly if you're managing a lot more and you can't afford to lose it, then that's the kind of time where you look at yourself and go, how do I manage this position? And you don't get psyched out when the price comes down, because when the price comes down, and it always does, it always does, no matter what stock you're in, it always comes down to levels that make you extremely uncomfortable, and that's where it really tests like your resolve around how much you like the stock. And that's just how it goes. So that's just how I want you to look at it. It may not be that way. The stock could just stay steady here and then it could go up, but it almost never happens that way. It always fluctuates in extremes that make you uncomfortable, and that's just normal. So that's why I tell you to have your reasons for investing, have an idea around how much of the stock you actually want to hold, so that you manage your position wisely. Like all your positions in the stock market, that's the one thing you can do for yourself, where it's ultimately for your best kind of financial well-being, is make sure no matter what happens, the risk of a stock failing does not cause you too much harm. And if it succeeds, then that's brilliant, that's great. Then but always have all the planning already done before you have to face it, because when you have to face it in that situation, that's probably the hardest time to make a decision, because you're not thinking with 100% clarity. It's much easier thinking about these things before it's happened than when it does happen, because you're possibly sometimes in a bit of shock. It is probably easier making it like in all practical decision making. Of course, when things have happened, then like you can decide there, because it's pretty clear what you have to do. But by that time, what if it's too late? That's the one thing as well. If you put 100% of your position in a certain stock and it goes down by 50%, deciding there what to do is possibly also difficult as well. So that's kind of one of those things you want to like think about and go, how do I manage this position? But overall, in terms of my confidence, I just want to let you know what you need to do in terms of a stock investing, of protecting your positioning and your risk. And that does not mean that I don't have the confidence in Veru, but I think I just want to make it clear to people how, firstly, you should always manage your risk no matter how big your confidence is in anything. And I think that's probably how I want to approach things, especially in these videos where I don't want people interpreting too much, like in terms of like, oh, these things are sure things. Nothing is a sure thing in this world, and that's how you want to manage it. And that's how it goes. Sometimes you do get lucky, and sometimes things happened all in your favor, and that's great. But eventually, some things don't happen in your favor, and that's how you eventually want to go, how do I manage my risks when that happens? So apart from that, I think I'll possibly will try to see if there's any more Veru announcements. I don't expect there to be too much announcements going into next month, because they won't likely have FDA approval, so they won't be probably releasing too much. But we'll see how that goes, and we'll watch the share price in that time as well. So share price around 12.83. Hopefully it doesn't go down too much more, but like I said, things will be swinging all over the place, but hopefully not too badly, and hopefully on the upside as well. Until then, good luck music, everyone.